Well, welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by David Sheridan of the new film, The Christmas Tapes. It's very good to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. I was wondering what "without your head on" was, because when I was waiting, it's like the host will let you in soon without your head on. And I'm like, hey, am I not supposed to have my head on? What's going on?
Well, as it progresses, maybe you'll lose it.
Exactly. Without my hat on.
There you go.
I still have my hair, people.
Oh, I do not. But unfortunately, but
it's going though. It's I'm holding on to it. 53.
Looks good. Okay, I turn 47 in a few months here. So.
All right.
So we're not here to talk about hair, though we will talk about hair. What is the Christmas Tapes about for people who are not aware?
Well, the Christmas Tapes is made by director Rob Livings and his partner Randy, and they put a film out, a found footage film called Infrared, and this is sort of like a continuation of the idea of shooting found footage horror movies. You know what I mean? Like being in that found footage world, which I find is I didn't realize was another niche. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
it's almost his own genre.
Porn and the gore and the ghost jump scare stuff and stuff like that. So I didn't know found footage was its own unique sort of like, there's websites dedicated to found footage movies and stuff like that. So ultimately, they wanted to do, Infrared was more of a full length feature. They came up with the idea of like, okay, how to do shorts. Greg, how do you say his last name? Cicero?
That's a good question. I was not aware either. I was actually trying to look it up before you came on. How do you say Cicero, I think, but yeah.
Cicero? Yeah. Incestro. Greg Incestro. So he basically, he reprises his character, Jeff, from Infrared, and he pitched them an idea of, hey, let's do a series of shorts where Jeff has a collection of VHS found footage tapes, and it's a home invasion, and he basically holds a family hostage and forces them to watch it, kind of like a Faces of Death, the old like the what were those things called? Those Faces of Death ones were called snuff films. Remember that?
Right. Yeah. They were big when I was a kid on VHS tape. People would.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was really my first sort of entry into like that. Technically, is found footage and like, apparently real. And I remember, okay, we got to watch this, being like 13 or something like that. So he pitched in the idea of doing like reprising his character, doing a home invasion break-in, tying up a family and forcing them to watch these tapes. And Rob sort of jumped in and, combined with Greg on the idea of like, okay, let's do that, but we need something that ties it together. How about Christmas? You know what I mean? That way it's programmable to put it out. Mm-hmm. One of the things about why like a horror movie, there's a lot of horror movies that are Christmas time, or horror movies that are set, at Valentine's or something like that. It gives producers the idea that, well, at least we know once a year there's a place that will program it on TV or program it in streaming now, or even just fans going, hey, it's Christmas time, let's watch some Christmas horror, horror fans. Yeah. Maybe Christmas fans too.
Yeah. It seems like there's more for holiday horror movies. There's more Christmas horror movies than there are just about any other holiday.
Except for Halloween. Yeah, I saw like a numbers on that. And I think Halloween, or the Halloween period, is the number one horror period for themes, and then Christmas is number two. And I think that speaks, one is because it's the biggest holiday. Two, so producers are like, if you're smart if you say, I need a base, I need a stage to promote the movie off of. But also I think that there is, for a lot of people, Christmas, 50% of the people have traumatic situations at Christmas time. A lot of family members die around the holidays. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, yay, it's the holidays, someone's going to die. It just seems, because there's a lot of internal pressure. There's a lot of just sort of like stresses on people and stuff like that. And so Christmas is, is not the best. For me, the biggest stress I have every year for Christmas is outside my house, hanging the lights and putting up. My kids want all that stuff, the reindeer and this. And I really, once I went for it, then you kind of have to, then you have all these boxes in your garage going, well, I paid for it all. I got to put it up again. But it's like kind of a pain in the ass. You know what I mean? The good news about Christmas is you get to leave that stuff up a little bit past New Year's. You know what I mean? It's like, well, if I get it up early, I can leave it up for a month and a half. But Halloween in my neighborhood, I go to town on the Halloween as well. But Halloween is like the day after Halloween.
Yeah, you have to take it all down.
Yeah, there is no like, we're leaving it up for a week after Halloween.
Yeah,
you know
then they
mean?
just think you're a weirdo. Yeah. If you've got
Yeah.
skeletons and stuff in your front yard.
Well, I am a weirdo, but
Right. A weirder, I guess, or a different type of weirdo. But I guess that's kind of like the Christmas horror time. Then you have all the ornaments and stuff. You know, you can use it every year, just like you can put the movie out every year, and people check it out.
right, exactly.
So
You
paranormal.
did a great job, by the way. I like the whole.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I actually do have a couple Halloween things still up. I have a couple pumpkins, and they're not rotten yet, so they're still there.
Oh, they're real.
Yeah, they're actually real.
Yeah, if you don't cut them, especially those smaller gourd.
Yeah.
They'll last for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look cool if they do rot. Then I can just say I made them that way.
Yeah, we in California here, especially where I live, it's still very hot at Halloween, and it does rain a little bit. So we'll carve those pumpkins and put them out in like a day. They're already collapsing. They're black on the inside, but I think that's the best. They actually look even creepier when they start to shrivel up and than what you carved. You know what I mean? Just looks
I agree. I have pictures of one I did a few years ago, and there's a white pumpkin, a big one, and it looked much creepier as it started to. Then after a while, it's just much, but in between there, it looks really cool.
It's mush with a lot of flies, and you know, like.
Right, that's still pretty creepy, I guess.
I did a stupid thing this year. I took a shovel because they were mushed at the half bottom part, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to pick it up. So I took a shovel and I took my garbage can and I just put it in the garbage can, and I at the bottom because it was garbage day already. And I went, and it's one of those deep garbage cans with the wheels, you know, like where you have to get down and to get it. And I was like, oh my God, that thing is now going to sit for a whole week with flies, and it's going to start to liquidate, and it's just I'm going to have to clean it out. I might as well do it now. And I got in there with my hands, and it's flies and everything, and I put it in because I realized I should have put it in a bag. Right. But I just was like not thinking really quick. I got to get rid of this. There's flies everywhere. It's starting to mush. So next thing you know, I'm down in there. It was disgusting. Yeah.
Well, it gets you into the character to play in horror movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Paranormal Perry, was this a fun character to play?
One of the funnest, actually. I want to reprise him for sure.
That would be cool.
Yeah, because we improvised this part of the film. The original, and in fact, it was always going to be improvised. And he had like a one sheet, but the original one was I was actually partnered up with like a person playing my wife, and we were going to be this bickering couple and stuff like that. But that actress couldn't make it. And so I showed up to set and was like, oh, what are we doing? Because now this is like, this idea is out. And then we just basically came up with, oh, now you're going to play your own, one person. And I was like, well, who is this lone person that's available on Christmas morning? You know what I mean? Like, who is Perry? And that's really where everything from knocking on that door stemmed from is, let's make him, let's go John Candy. What about Bob, the cable guy? There's definitely a lot of Jim Carrey cable guy in the thing. You know what I mean? Sort of like, as it starts to unpeel. He's, what's his story? So,
yeah. And I like that you play him very straight, which I think makes him more comedic. Was that always the plan? Because, like you were saying, there's different types of horror movies. There's found footage, there's bloody stuff. There's a lot of different ways to play comedy, over the top, big, and then this is, pretty straight, dry.
I mean, I am a bit. I'm not completely straight. I'm definitely intrusive and a little, obviously heightened. I wouldn't say stupid, but heightened, sort of a little bit of a, he comes off like, does he even know what he's doing? He's a little bit of a mess up. Like the idea that we came up with was like, they hired a paranormal investigator because stuff's happening at the house, and whether there's real spirits there or ghosts or whatever, the guy that they hired is worse than them. You know what I mean? We want to get rid of, they try to fire me. You know what I mean? It's like, we're fine. We'd rather have the ghost than this guy in our house, you know? But the one thing that's very important that makes it work when you're talking about tonally is Devin and Ian, the couple, they play it very dry and very straight. You know, they're more like The Office type of thing. I guess The Office is a great sort of parameter. What is that word I'm looking for? Parameter, you know, the barometer. I don't know, the meter. It's like,
barometer.
Barometer. Yeah. See that, and now you know, if you watch Perry, you're gonna know that that was all me, because like that was something that Perry would say. We got to do the barometer. You know what I mean? So, but you know, like The Office, the Steve Carell character, he doesn't work if the other actors don't play off him even drier and straighter. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what they did. They really gave it back to me in the sort of tone that it needed to be. If they played it more goofier or bigger, then you'd start to feel the thing get bloated on the goofy side.
Yeah. So. And I like it because whenever I watch any of those kind of shows, the supernatural thing, it always kind of feels like they're just making stuff up anyway. Like, oh yeah, this is my device that I used to blah, blah, blah. And so it works.
I mean, that was what's funny about it, was because I actually don't watch those shows because I don't have time. I mean, it's like I've got very little time to watch stuff, and that is not something high on my list to watch. You know, it's like, I mean, it's definitely higher than, say, Real Housewives of Jersey or something like that. But it falls into that, you know, those true TV ghost hunter shows and stuff like that with their equipment. And so I wasn't brushed up. I haven't seen Ghostbusters since the 80s. And I was like, oh, what is this stuff called? You know, like, so all the equipment I had. So I that's the other reason it was like, let's go with the fact that Perry's kind of questionable. Is he really even know what he's talking about? Because I'm just going to spew out what things are called and just sort of, it's clearly I'm making it up on the fly kind of a thing. And I did like that's where the directors, you know, help emphasize the comedy, is when I was like, we're going to put an image capture device there, an image capture device here, an image capture device there. And it was just handy cams, you know, I could have just said, we're going to put a handy cam up there, but I was like calling it like image capture device. And then when they show the footage, it's they typed in image capture device 1, image capture device 2. Like, so I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to watch, like there'll be like a little floating piece of dust and you'll think it's an orb of like some type of ghost. And I kind of get a kick out of them for a while until they were on so much, and then it's kind of the same thing over and over. Oh yeah, right. Exactly. But my brother and I were going to do a giant hunter show locally and just walk around and make stuff up about these are signs that giants live here, but we never actually did it. Oh, that would be kind of neat. Yeah. I actually you know, like I'm friends with the Terrifier 1 and Terrifier 2 nice.
guys.
Yeah.
I'm in their next film called Stream. It's a big cast, and it's a bigger version of, you know, those movies. The Terrifier movies were made like micro budget, and now
they've done huge.
We shot one more on a level of like a Devil's Rejects. It's got like myself, Dee Wallace, Danielle Harris, Bill Moseley, Tony Todd, Alyssa Rose, Daniel Roebuck. It's a Jeffrey Combs. I mean, it's a great cast. But are you familiar with Terrifier? When the first one came out, before it had a big buzz, I had Damien on and David Howard Thornton, and now they're too big to talk to. No, they've been on. Yeah, since, they kind of. But are. I was really happy it did so well, and so happy the second one's like huge. Yeah, so like for me, you know, and like in Devil's Rejects, Sid plays the clown, and then you've got Pennywise, and you've got Killer Clowns, and Kill Giggles is like Vernon Wells plays Vernon Wells is in this film. If you haven't seen Kill Giggles, he's got a great performance in that. And but there is something about clowns that, you know, is also, when we talked about themes like that, you know, in terms of like a subgenre, creepy clowns are actually another one too. And I guess it's because, and see, I don't find clowns scary, you know, because I'm a comedian. I actually love their art and love watching what they do. I was never creeped out as a kid with clowns. I would be more creeped out with Santa Clauses, because who are these dudes in fake beards putting all these little kids on their lap? Like, what are they really about?
Right.
How many, like, how are they tickling? How many little fields are they getting in, kind of thing. And so, but ultimately there is something about, and because I'm like, I am a physical comedian, physically trained. I went to clown school and also, Second City and improv and stuff like that. And so I was like, man, I've never played like the crazy psycho clown, right? And I'm sort of doing a bunch of these sort of, you want to call them low budget horror things. I love doing this genre. For one reason is because the films are getting made. I could be in 10 movies a year shooting these low budget horrors and have the freedom to go and do this character, lots of freedom. And just sort of, for me, it's like I'm in the twilight of my career, and it's more like, it's kind of like I'm actually retired playing in the minor leagues, just saying, okay, I just going up and hitting home runs now, for my personal self, of like, I'm getting to go do what I want to do. So I really like it, but I also love horror because it is one sort of genre that can be done at the lower budget.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that.
And that's why they make so many of them at that budget. But, and the fans are just awesome. And I enjoy watching horror. So my whole thing was like, oh, I got to do a clown one. And I was like, but it's all been done. How do you, especially with like Art the Clown now, like, where do you go? So then I was like, but nobody's ever done the Clown Hunter, the sort of like Van Helsing character who basically is dedicated his life to capturing psycho killer clowns. You know what I'm saying? And I thought, that's what I'm going to do, Clown Hunter. And it's sort of like the guy, he's what's the guy's name that in Halloween?
Loomis, Dr. Loomis. Yeah.
It's like the Dr. Loomis of psycho killer clowns, the guy that I know what they're thinking. Yeah. I've tracked them. I've worked with them. I know how to draw them out, like they can't resist the squeaky sounds of animal balloons. You know what I mean? Right. So I thought that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm totally into this. I love it. And Dr. Loomis is a great character because I think he really sells how evil Michael Myers is, because he doesn't really even kill that many people in the first movie, but Loomis is talking about how evil he is. Like, holy shit, this guy must, be off.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, well, that's what they did with like, in the last three, when they did have Loomis in the thing, where it was like the idea that he's actually in love with Michael Myers. You know what I mean? Right. He feels like he created him because he kind of did create him from, like, it's almost like he was the Obi-Wan Kenobi of like, oh, here's a young guy, young killer, but you are really evil. You haven't reached your pinnacle yet, Michael. I will help you. I'll drive you crazier. It's like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, definitely. So your background in comedy with SNL and different things. Why do you think comedy and horror blend so well together?
Oh, well, for two reasons. One is there really is a visceral reaction, a physical reaction, in sort of like romantic dramas or something like that. Everything's like this. If you're watching it, you might go, but comedy, you're like, and then horror, you're like, but I think they really come from the same synapses in a different way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They basically, one is, in the survival, fight or flight, and the other one is in recognizing enjoyment and, tribalism. But when the synapses react, then the serotonin that's released does feed the body enjoymently the same way. So that's one aspect of why they match. But on my side, especially in horror, that I always do, I always bring the comedic side to the horror things, whether that's in Devil's Rejects or this movie Stream. I'm funny in Stream, you know what I mean? But it's a brutal movie. And one thing that it's utilized as a tool, comedy is necessary in horror, especially in slasher movies or multiple kill movies, is because you need to reset the audience. So when you have something so vicious and so, you can't keep taking that elevator ride up. You got to go down a couple floors. And the quickest way to go down to that reset is to have a little levity and a little comedy that it kind of gets that audience back into their seat so that they can have that jump scare again or their, visceral feeling of horror. So I think comedy and horror is a very useful tool and necessary tool in terms of, a 90-minute movie to be able to give the horror people 15 kills or 15 scares. You got to reset them quickly, and comedy helps that.
Yeah, like a palate cleanser.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, like you said, the first part, I think they're the two best genres to watch with an audience because everyone, you can react together. Like you said, you're not going to sit around and cry together. I guess you can, but it's not very exciting. Yeah,
and that's the thing is when coming up and doing comedy theater is because, well, there is no horror theater. I mean, there is. There's haunts, there's haunted houses and stuff like that. Yeah. And you could probably learn what scares people in reality with a haunt. I probably should go and just start working a haunt for a couple of years to work interesting.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends in the horror genre who did haunts before they started doing movies. So that's interesting.
Yeah, because it's a good way to understand what people react to and how to manipulate those strings a little bit. But that's the same thing with comedy theater is, as an actor, it's immediate gratification of what you're doing because you get the reaction of the audience. So it's almost like the dog sitting and then getting the treat. It's like, oh, okay, I did the sit right. I got the treat. With like doing dramatic theater, it's hard to read the audience. And so it's like, am I good? Am I connecting with them? But you nailed a punchline or you nailed a turn in comedy theater because you made the audience laugh.
Yeah. Along those lines, though, then, is it harder to do comedy in a movie because you don't have the immediate reaction, I guess, besides the people on set? So do you know, like, hey, is this working because you don't have the audience there to laugh at it?
Yeah, it's true. The good news about that is you can edit it. So you can, an editor can go, hold on, I can fix that because you did 2 takes and I'll use the best take here, or I'll have, cut away to the other person to make the thing drier for the punchline to work, so you can manipulate it in editing. But definitely, there's a reason why some of the biggest, whether it's Steve Carell or Bill Murray or, Adam Sandler, I put him up there, but almost all of them are stand-up comedians or came from Second City and know how to play their instrument. You know what I'm saying?
I've noticed that for the most part, there's exceptions, but comedians who become dramatic actors usually are there's more success rate than I think dramatic actors who try to do comedy.
That's true. And like and singers that rock stars that want to go be actors, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's true. Like I think because people that are comedians or clowns are troubled on the inside. They have dark stuff. They're covering that up. We're a shell. You know what I mean? It's a defense mechanism growing up. There's an insecurity defense mechanism, and there's just sort of like you've had rough childhood and stuff like that, and the way to repress it is to be funny and not go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which hurts me because like when I'm at family funerals, I'm always cutting jokes and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. It's how I deal with it. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
No, I understand. I'm the same way, but only I'm not as successful. But so I want to ask real quick about Sid Haig because he was the first guest on our show, and we started in 2006, and I became friends with him, and he helped me get into do like host panels at conventions. Just a really nice guy and very supportive guy. And so I was, what were your experiences like with Sid?
Well, Sid was awesome, man. What's funny was I was a big fan of his for his Saturday morning. I forget the space show, but he had like this Saturday morning Star Wars show where he was the main bad guy. He was like the Darth Vader guy. Yeah. And I couldn't believe I was making a movie with, oh my God. Like it was like where everyone else was like, no, he's a horror icon. I go, no, it's every Saturday morning I would watch him. And he was great. And, he had regular dentures, right? And when I was getting ready to film, I would do my own feather hair, and it would take no time. But for Sid in the makeup chair with the Captain Spaulding stuff, I would love to watch him because he was one person that was really putting on a real character similar to what I do with characters. Does that make sense? And so I loved watching him get ready. in the makeup with Wayne Toth and stuff like that. And what was funny was we'd be shooting the shit, and he'd have his regular dentures in, and then he had the Captain Spaulding dentures, which were like really fucked up teeth. And it was just that was the last thing he put in. You know, it was like, okay. And he goes, and he's off. It was pretty cool to watch, like that. And I should have stole his real dentures.
Yeah, you'd get a lot for him right now on eBay.
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
you were planning on to do with him. Yeah.
But he was on the horror circuit. He's an icon because he's one of the original sort of really down to earth, heartfelt, open type of guy at these conventions. And he laid the groundwork for how you treat fans / friends. So maybe I call them fens. Fiends are fiends. Yeah. I didn't mentor under him, but Kane Hodder is another one that's great with the fans. And I got a lot of advice from him when you do cons, how do you interact and, engage with the fans and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's really cool. So Christmas Tapes, it's on digital right now out today. So
yeah,
go and watch it.
One last thing, and then I gotta go. On my next film is called New Fear's Eve, and that's currently on Indiegogo. Yeah, it's on Indiegogo right now, and we're doing a crowdfunding for it, and we're going to shoot at the end of January in Owensboro, Kentucky. And that obviously is a New Year's Eve horror thing. So I'm going from a Christmas horror thing to New Year's Eve horror. But you can check that out. If you go to Indiegogo, check out New Fear's Eve and look at the perks and stuff. And my favorite thing that I would buy, and I did purchase, is the pre-order of the Blu-ray, because it's a first edition, limited edition Blu-ray. It's not going to be the same one that Lionsgate puts out or Gravitas or whoever releases the film. This is going to have its own artwork. It's a longer cut. It's usually a director's cut, and the credits will be different. And, the stars like myself and Felissa Rose and Elsie Holt and Hannah, we autograph it. So you get like 5 or 6 autographs on this Blu-ray. That's exclusive. I think it's definitely worth $40.
Yeah, so, definitely. That's really cool. So I'll put the link in here for everyone.
Yeah, you can go look it up and then get the link. Where are you out of?
I'm in Massachusetts.
Okay. What part?
I was in LA just not too long ago for to get cheap plug, but the premiere of my first feature film, the US premiere, was in LA, as we were saying. But I'm in Cape Cod.
Yeah. I lived in Falmouth.
Oh, really? Okay, I'm in Massachusetts. So I'm in Sandwich, which is right next to Falmouth.
Okay. I went to T-Ticket. Or is that what it's called? I think T-Ticket Elementary.
Yeah. Okay, I'm in Sandwich, which is right now. When I got really sick, I was at Falmouth Hospital, but I live right next to Falmouth. That's funny.
I lived there when they were shooting Jaws at Martha's Vineyard.
I'm right next to Martha's Vineyard, the Cape and the Islands. Yes,
okay,
right there.
My dad worked at Woods Hole. It was like
near me too. We used to go there when I was in school, for different field trips and stuff for science class.
He took me to go see the filming, and I looked down at Bruce the shark. Yeah. And that was really my first sort of entry into films. And then, that was nothing because I didn't understand what I was looking at. But then he took me to the movie 2 years later, to see it in the movie. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, awesome. I can make films. What is the name of your film that you came out for? What you're directed it?
I produced it. I'm in it. And when I say produced, I actually produced from the beginning. I didn't, some people think like you just donate crowdfunding, but no, it's produced from the beginning. Also helped come up with the idea and did some writing on it. But the Once and Future Smash, which it's a mockumentary about film conventions, about 2 older actors who both take credit for a 1970 slasher film, and then they're booked at a convention in modern day, and it's about their rivalry. And then there's also that they're rebooting this franchise, and they both are trying to get the part in this movie.
I love that, dude. Who's in it? Who are the two?
The 2 main guys are Bill Wheaton from Sergeant Kabuki Man, a Trauma film, and Michael St. Michaels from The Greasy Strangler, if you're familiar.
Yeah, I know him.
I'm a big fan of Greasy Strangler.
He's the gray hair one, right?
What's that?
The longer hair one, right?
Yeah, the main guy, the older guy. Yeah. And then I got a lot of my horror friends to be in it to play themselves. Dan Yeager from Texas Chainsaw, 3D John Dugan from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Victor Miller, who wrote Friday the 13th, Mark Scheffler from Last House on the Left, Mark Torgel from I'll forget everyone's name, but Melanie Kinnaman from Friday the 13th Part 5. There's a lot of cool people.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, keep me in mind.
Definitely, yeah.
When you
all right. Yeah. And if you want to do a part 2 sometime before to plug the crowdfunding, I could set that up if you like.
Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I'm going to go jump on my 11:30.
Yeah, sorry, Keith.
Bye.
Bye.
No, it's all good. Bye.
Back like a man in motion.